So today I thought we'd take a look at a diamond knot, which is sort of a nice decorative knot, sort of in the center of what really is a single strand doubled. So a single strand forming a loop, and then we get this diamond knot happening. And the nice thing about it, apart from it just sort of looking nice, is if we were to cut this part off, so this tail doesn't exist anymore, we now have sort of a nice lanyard that's finished off, and this can be attached to the end of a knife or anything that you or a keychain or something like that. And because the tail part is coming up through the center, if we cut it off here, it's basically it'll self-hide itself, and so there's really no finishing work that needs to be done. So it's just a nice handy knot, and it's not that difficult to do. So let's take a look at it. Let's use this larger line to do a diamond knot. So basically it starts from a Carrick Bend, and I'll show you briefly how to do the Carrick Bend, and then we'll go from there. We can also link you to a video that's specific to the Carrick Bend. But if you start sort of in the middle of your piece of line, and let's say you're going to do this onto a keychain and you wanted your keys to dangle from the end here, basically start your keychain, your keys on here from the beginning. So they're already hanging and they're in place. And then from here we'll start a Carrick Bend. So what we're going to do is a sort of an underhand loop. So your right hand, the strand in your right hand passes underneath everything. So that's sort of the beginning of it. Then this other strand here, if you pass it underneath this loop, and now we're going to weave it over and through. So it's come underneath underneath the loop, will then come over top of this line, underneath, over, under, and over. And he'll pass through and should make a Carrick Bend, which kind of looks like a pretzel, sort of. And from here you can work the length of this loop roughly into the shape that you want, and you'll have plenty of time to adjust it further as we go. So I'll just start with something like that I can fairly easily hold in my hand. Okay, so this is a Carrick Bend. So from here we'll just adjust our Carrick Bend and add to it. We're going to add a loop here and a loop here, and form that into our diamond knot. So let's start with this upper loop here. So what he's going to do is he's exiting out of this lobe. I want him to enter into this lobe. And when he enters into here, you'll see this strand here that follows straight along. We're essentially just going to parallel him. So as he enters in here, he's just going to lay right along this guy and follow him as he goes. So as he ducks under, the new strand ducks under, and as he comes over things, the new strand comes over things. And then we can just sort of pull him roughly into shape. Okay, now we'll do the same thing with this side. So we're going to add an extra loop on this side here. And what we're going to do is come underneath and once again parallel this existing line. So as he comes up, we'll come over, and as he ducks under the strand, we'll follow him right along. And as he comes back up, we come up. And really that's sort of the hard part done. It may look a little bit confusing, but all you need to remember is that you're paralleling the line that you're following. So as he ducks under, we'll do the same. And he's coming under here and up, and we'll do the same. And as he comes under, we'll do the same. So now this one has paralleled his partner fully around, and you'll see two strands in every position now. And we'll turn our attention back to our second guy. So he's paralleling this one. So as he ducks underneath here, we'll duck underneath. As he comes up, we come up. Same thing here. And the way that we finish this off is now both strands are going to come straight up the middle. So this guy's going to lay alongside and come up the middle. And this guy here is going to do the same thing. They're both going to exit up the center. So we've got our keys will be attached here, or whatever it is that we're attaching this to will be attached here. And this is sort of what it looks like. And the way it's going to now form that spherical shape is we'll just sort of fold this down and spread things out a little bit. Now it's quite loose at this point, but you can see that we have the basics for it. So now from here to tighten it up, I usually do this very gradually in 3 or 4 stages. And you essentially just pick one strand. It could be any of them. It could be this strand, or this one, or either of these, and just pull them a little bit tight and follow that same strand along. So maybe I'll do one, and then we'll sort of cut and come back as I do subsequent ones. So let's say we take this strand. I'm going to use this one here to apply a bit of tension. So I'll just tighten him up a little bit, and as he comes around, I'm just following him along, giving him a little bit of a tighten each time we go, until that strand eventually exits the knot. And then do the same with its partner. And as you gradually do this, this will get tighter and tighter. And you can make this incredibly tight, or just sort of moderately tight, as I was just doing this as a demo. So let's break for a second. I'll come back once I've worked it up a little bit tighter, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so I've spent literally just probably 1 or 2 minutes working this tight just by following a strand around and pulling it tight as I go. Now you may say, well, geez, this loop is super gigantic, and what if I only want a short loop for my keys as an example? This is kind of unworkable in its current state, so how do we fix that? And it's actually quite easy. And when I mentioned earlier not to worry too much about this, I'll show you why it's actually quite an easy thing to fix. So once I've got the knot sort of roughly into the shape that I want, it's not pulled rock hard yet, but it's snugged up so that it'll maintain its shape. Here's what we do. Essentially, you do your tightening routine once more, but this time we'll pick this strand. See how that shortens our loop where our key might be. So let's say, I don't know, let's say I like it that tight. So just, so we were like that. So just pull it through until you've got whatever the length is that you like. And now it's just a matter of following this strand along. And it only takes a minute to do this. Just follow it along, pulling it through over each turn until it eventually exits the knot. Okay, so you can see now it's exited the knot. We've got one leg significantly longer than the other, but that's okay. with a bit of practice, you'll learn to sort of know how much rope this is going to take, and maybe work this one up quite short so that you're not wasting much line. But as you can see, we've adjusted it to the length that we want here. And really the next step is, if I wanted to make this really tight, now that I have this in the final dimension, now is the time that I'll really pull hard on these strands as I go. And essentially do what I just did one more time, but now each time pull it quite hard, and you can even use a Marlingspike or a flathead screwdriver to really get some tension on these lines and follow them through until you have the whole knot as tight as you like. But yeah, basically that's how you do a diamond knot. So from at Carrick Bend, we're adding those 2 sets of extra lobes and just following the strands through. So nice decorative knot, but it's actually got some good practical uses. But I'll just show you quickly here. So setting that aside, had a winter jacket, or still have a winter jacket, whose zipper broke. The pull tab on the zipper broke, but the broken thing still had this little metal loop. So I just made my own little pull tab, just a piece of string with one of these knots pulled rock hard on there, and it's been on this jacket for probably 3 or 4 years now. So one little practical application, and it works nicely. You can grab it no problem with gloves on. A couple other ways that I use this. Got this little tiny knife, and you can see the blade of the handle is way too small for my hand. But by adding this diamond knot that I've set to a length that works well for me, it really actively mimics, or kind of virtually extends the length of the handle, so that it feels as though I've got a longer handle than I actually do. With this big knife, pretty much use it for the same reason. This will allow me to choke down on the knife and essentially turn this into a much longer knife than it already is. So if I'm using this to chop wood, because oftentimes when I'm camping I'll just bring one knife and won't bring a hatchet or an axe or anything, and this guy will double as my hatchet, and this gives me a little bit of extra leverage if I'm chopping. So that's quite handy. Exact same thing on this little knife. Extends the handle. Works well. And on this spoon, just a little decorative finish, and when we hang them in the kitchen, that's how we hang them. So we just use this really as a lanyard loop. So there's your diamond knot.